Hey guys, welcome to Grace Automation and Engineering Services. Here I'm going to share with you one of our recent projects in which we have connected the MySQL database with PLC. So what's that? We can control the PLC over the globe through the internet. So we can monitor and control the PLC through internet anywhere in the world. So let's observe that here I have made some tables for controlling and displaying the boolean values and integer values, and specified some registers in the PLC to receive the values from database and send the values to the database. Here we are using the Click PLC, but that's not limited to the Click. We can use any one of the PLC that has the Modbus protocol. So through the Modbus protocol we are sending the data to the database and receiving the data from the database. So let's start testing. Here the registers DS1 to DS6 are being written into the database in the table display int. So here we can see these are the same values as in the PLC registers. So let's change some of the values and observe that in the database. Let's instead of 56 I'm going to write it 98. Now write the new values. So here the value is updated. Now let's observe in the database. Let's refresh the page. Here we can see that last value has changed to 98. That was previously 56. So now let's change some of other values. Here instead of 53 let's write 21. Write the new values. Here the value is updated. Now observe in the database. Refresh the page. So here we can see that it's updated to 21. Now let's change some value in the database and monitor that in the PLC. Here the integer values being written from database into the PLC are these are the input 1, 2 and 3. These 6 values are being written into the data registers from DS11 to DS16. Here we can see that these are the same values as in the database table. So let's change some value from database and monitor that into the PLC. Here instead of 1 I'm going to write that's 56. Now let's observe that in PLC. So here we can see that instead of 1 now it's 56. So let's change some of other value. Now here instead of 5 I have written 78. That will be reflected into the PLC. So let's see that here we can see that instead of 5 it's 78. So in this way we can control the values in the PLC from database, means through internet, means over the world. So now about the boolean, let's also check that. Here the booleans being written from PLC into database are C1 to C6, and the table for booleans are display bool. So here we can see that first three boolean are true and the other three are false. In the PLC we can see that first three are true and other three are false. Let's change this. Turn this last one on and the first one off. Now write the values and let's observe in the database. Let's refresh the page. Here we can see that the values are updated. We had turned off the first memory and turned on the last, so that's reflected in the database. So in this way we can observe the status of any output or input of the PLC in database. Now let's observe the controlling of boolean values from database. The table for controlling is control bool. Here the first boolean value is true and the last is true. So the addresses for these booleans are C11 to C16. So here we can see that C11 is on and C16 is also on. Now let's change some of the value and observe that in the PLC. The first was on, we are going to turn that off. Here we can see that C11 has turned off. So we can control any output or input of PLC from database, means over the net and means over the world. Now let's change any other value. Let's turn the second on. So here in the PLC we can see that C12 has turned on. So in this way we are monitoring and controlling the PLC from the database, and database means over the net and means over the world. Thanks for watching. See you next time.